welcome to today's episode of Meet the Mimes. Today's guest is no longer with us. She existed actually back in the early 1900s, born in the 1800s, and so she's not here with us today. I wanted to go into a new direction because it's difficult to find people that are interested in being on camera. So I had this idea to interview, so to speak, through reading and asking myself questions about what they did, what their passions were, and what their impact was on the community of that time, and how it may, depending, I guess, on whomever I choose and which time that they lived, had an impact on today as well. So I'm trying something new. So hey, I'm glad you're here with me. Today, I'm talking about the contribution of Sarah E. Goode, or Good. With the research I did, she was here 1855 or 1855, I think. Make sure I have that right. I think so. Yes, 1855 to 1905. I think she was, 60 years old. So when she passed. Well, this inventor, she's a black woman. She actually was, I guess, it being that far ago, that long ago, man, my words, it was, I guess, it was unclear to I guess, find if she was a slave or not. Let's see, because Civil War was 1863. Freeing of slaves was not long after that. My history is a little dull. For you guys who are history buffs, please correct me. Of things surrounding dates surrounding Civil War, freeing of slaves, and things like that. Exact dates, my history is a little rusty. But Sarah E. Good, based on the research I found, was born 1885, and like I said, 1855. Oh, man, and passed 1905. She was known for the cabinet bed. I think today's version is the Murphy bed. And I think one of them is also called a cabinet bed. But this one, this particular bed, let's see if I can pull a picture of this. This bed, I mean, you might be familiar with the roll top. And let's see, I'd like to pull one up for you here real quick. This is really, really cool. Man. All right, let's do this. But the one that she did, it looks like a roll top. I've got this queued up already, and I'm doing this spur of the moment, so bear with me. But anyway, it looks like a. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure this. Come on, what are you doing? Okay, here it is. It looks like a roll top. Let's see. Preview JPG. There we go. You could hardly see it here. Let me just kind of get in my own way. Right? It looks like that, right? It's really, really neat. I've got a video that I'm going to post here in a little bit. Or not post, I'm going to show you. But let me see. I'm going to read a little bit about what I kind of took notes on. And this is what I found. Like some of the highlights here. Of course, she was an inventor of the cabinet bed. And I'll read some of the notes here. So Sarah E. Goode was born in 1855 in Toledo, Ohio. This again is kind of conflicting because it says in some accounts I'd read she was a slave for a few years, and then she was a child of slaves. So I'm not sure. Anyway, but I kind of wrote this down. Toledo, Ohio, to parents who were slaves. She was raised in a predominantly white community and attended school until age 14. I guess maybe, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But anyway, after leaving school, Goode moved to Chicago and became an entrepreneur, opening a furniture store in 1885. There's a video I'm about to show you. And she had actually met a carpenter and married him. And I think she was known mainly for being an upholsterer, which is interesting. So I guess between the two of them, kind of understanding how the mechanics of carpentry works and structures and things like that, she came up with an idea for this cabinet bed. It's pretty neat. One of the interesting things that I thought was pretty wild is, especially given the date, it says that the invention was a hit among the city dwellers who lived in small apartments and needed to maximize their space. It didn't say, which culture particularly, it was hit. It was a hit with. I think it did talk about. It was during like the boom of the Victorian age. That style of furniture and decor. So I would imagine it was kind of like upper middle class and rich type people who lived in the nicer apartments downtown and things like that. That was a hit with, which I thought was really cool. I mean, definitely is a hit today. There are so many people that use fold out beds. I would imagine the futon was an invention that kind of was born of that first invention with Miss Goode's invention there. So that's pretty interesting. Let's see what else I'd like to kind of bring out. So yeah. She, let's see. I want to bring up the date when she got that patent. Let's see. First one. Man, it doesn't say when the patent was. Anyway, I know that it will cover it in that video, but the way that I actually found Sarah E. Goode was when I was trying to figure out what to do with the podcast. I didn't know which way to kind of go, given the fact, like I'd mentioned earlier, that people don't want to be on camera. They don't like the idea of it, I guess. Maybe it, self-consciousness or, shyness. I don't know. I live in a small town and a lot of people don't know about stuff like that. They hear about it, but not knowing as in being a part of it and participating or even considering those things. So it's tough. It's tough, man, to get some folks to do this and consistently, weekly, have guests. So I found Sarah E. Goode on a search. I was just like, women inventors. That just came to mind. I was like, okay, I've got to come up with something to talk about, to at least get into the groove of figuring this out. Just kind of fleshing it out and seeing what comes out, right at the end of this endeavor. So just kind of Googled inventors, and at the time it was in February. I was like, okay, so let's go ahead and Google black inventors, black woman inventors. I mean, I know of a lot of male black inventors, but I didn't know of any off the top of my head. When we were kids, mom and dad, us being high school, homeschooled, would, every Black History Month, every February, have a list of people that we had to study. I remember Sarah Goode, or Good. Man, I got to get that together. But um, it's pretty interesting, fascinating stuff. So I want to go ahead and just give you the backstory of that. But anyway, let me go ahead and show this video of of uh of what I have going on here. So here we go. Sarah E. Good.
Hello all, and welcome once again to another episode of Everyday Black History, where we
Put on my
celebrate and
headphones.
highlight the historical achievements and contributions of black men and women, both past and present. Now today we're going to be talking about Sarah Elizabeth Goode, who was an entrepreneur and an inventor. And she was one of the first African American women to receive a U.S. patent, which she received in 1885. Now to give a little background on Sarah Goode, she was born Sarah Elizabeth Jacobs in 1855 in Toledo, Ohio. And she was the second of 7 children of Oliver and Harriet Jacobs. Oliver Jacobs, her father, was a native of Indiana and was a carpenter. And when the Civil War ended, the family moved to Chicago, Illinois, where Sarah met and married Archie Goode, who was from Virginia. And they went on to have 6 children. Now in records, he's described as a stair builder, and she
That looks cool.
So they opened up a furniture store together.
I mean, look at it.
Now the
Right?
idea
Hold on.
for
Stop. Like look at this. I mean, look at that. I mean, you can't see my cursor, but this thing looks like a roll top, right? Let me see if I can. But I mean, I remember seeing a roll top before, and I remember like the first time I'd seen one, and I remember just being fascinated at those little tiny drawers, each one of them, or like little slots. I'd seen a few different variations, but the little slots where, there's like for, your different, however your workflow was, and of what that day, what was it, a typical workflow, totally different ideas. You can't just grab a pen. I don't even remember when the fountain pen was invented, but I know they had the quill and all that stuff. I don't even know the right names. Again, correct me in the comments. I don't know what this. I didn't exist then, so don't judge me. But I mean, check out, man. I wish I could have my cursor on here, man. Oh, there it is. So check this out, though. I'm gonna make this a little bit larger. It's over my face. So like this little area here is what I'm talking about. Like right here. I remember when I'd seen my first roll top. I mean, I've always been fascinated with carpentry. But I've always thought it was really cool how the little thing comes out of here, the little roll top comes out of here and just follows the curvature. He's just got his own little groove, and then it follows and it like rolls into the back and kind of like rolls up. Anyway, but I thought that was interesting how I think that was a roll top too. I think that's the little pool thing right there. But anyway, I thought it was really interesting how she was able to design this thingamajig to where you have all of the utility. I mean, it's a functioning desk, work desk, right? For those guys who are business people and what have you. They like writing letters, or they were a writer, or whatever. And they had their own little work desk, man. You get tired, you lock your stuff up, and plop that bed right out. All right? Neat.
Now, the idea for her invention came out of necessity of the times, as most people she knew lived in small homes or studios, and these residents had a minimal
I
amount
hope
of
that's
habitable space. It is
I hope that's
said that
recorded.
many of her customers complained of not having enough room to store things, much less add furniture. So Sarah Goode invented a folding cabinet bed, which helped people who live in tight housing to utilize their space more efficiently. Now, when the bed was folded up, it looked like a desk with room for storage, and she received the patent for it on July 14th, 1885. Now, her
Pretty cool.
invention came out before the Murphy bed, which was patented years
I mean, look
later
at that.
in 1900.
Look at that. Man, come on. Look at that. Right? Look at that. I think this is an actual one. Well, that must be a different design. I don't know. I mean, that one makes more sense. I mean, if it was a roll top, yeah. Well, that's more like a cabinet bed, right? I don't even think that's the one that she had created. I don't know.
Later in 1900. Now, her invention was way ahead of its time,
For sure.
and she wanted to create something.
Let me read that. Let's see. Sarah Goode's patent was the first confirmed patent obtained by an African American woman inventor. In 1885, Goode invented the floating cabinet chair, a space saver that folded up against the wall into a cabinet that could be used as a desk. Goode owned a furniture store in Chicago and invented the bed for people living in small apartments. That's pretty neat, man. I mean, look at that. I mean, I bet this was her actual invention right here. I don't know if there are any that exist. It would be cool to like do some research like that. So check out, type in the comments, man, if you've found any, if you found any or you have one, I'd like to see one in person. Man, I mean, look at that mechanism that just okay, so that it just folds in, and it's just like I don't know, it's like a half circle, right? It's a quarter of a way in, quarter of a way out, and it's a half of a circle. That's pretty interesting. Let's see, patented July 14th, 1885. So born in 1955 and patented this in 1885, and then she died in 1905. So 85 to 90, or 1905. That's some years. My brain's not
That had
working.
never been done before. So she had to balance out,
Dude,
figure out a way to balance out the weight.
dude, let me go back.
Fig-
Oh man, dude, let me go back. All right, so check that out. That doesn't look like that roll top, but it's cool. And then we like, this is 2014 that he did this video. I'll also have a link in the description for this guy that so graciously put this video together for me, so I didn't have to do a lot of the research. I mean, I'm having fun. I mean, I'll kind of like lean into it as I get going. But this is my first episode of this little angle, so we'll see how it goes, man.
Figure out a way to balance out the weight of folding the bed so that it could be easily lifted up when folding or unfolding.
Let me read that. Let me read that. Sounds interesting. Let's see. Okay, it's the same thing he said. Okay,
or unfolding. She had to secure the bed on each side.
Look at that. All right. Cabinet bed, 1885. Making sure I didn't miss anything. I think it's really neat how people design this stuff. I mean, I'm looking at all these little alphabets here. I don't know what that means. I mean, I have a few ideas for inventions, but I've never really pulled the trigger on anything.
So that when folding the bed, it would stay in its place. And she also had to provide supplementary support to the center of the bed when it was unfolded.
Yeah.
So
Center
her
weight.
invention was way ahead of its time. And she, like a few other black woman inventors of that time invented things that were new technology for the time period. Her, Sarah Good, Sarah Boone, Miriam Benjamin,
Apparently they had
and a
like
few others
cartoons
are women who
of her and
invented
stuff.
things that
Interesting.
were new technology for the time.
Space Saver.
Now, unfortunately, not much else is known about Sarah Good, um, other than that she died April 8th,
April
1905,
8th.
at the age of 50.
Her birthday
But
or
her
death date's coming
invention
up soon.
made life easier for a lot of people
Today's the
during the
2nd.
1800s, and Sarah Good, we thank you for your contribution.
Thank you, Sarah Good.
Now,
All right. So I think that's it. Anyway, so I enjoyed doing a little bit of research. I mean, it was like maybe a few minutes worth of research, but it was pretty cool and getting me started with some ideas on how to be able to present this. Kind of bear with me as I figure out the technical stuff as well. I recently started another podcast with my friend Red, aka Cub. It's called Combat Cub. He's Combat. I'm Cub. Combat Cub podcast. It's a podcast that's how could I say? I actually wrote down a description. I want to kind of I want to just okay. So all right, Combat Cub is a podcast about conquering life's battles, which kind of goes into what this is, what I'm presenting to you today. I think about Sarah Good. Dude, 1855, right? During slavery times before the Civil War. I know they were ramping up, 1860, I think, is when. 1860 is when the Civil War began. I don't know. I know there was a lot of stuff going on before. I'm really hazy about all that history, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to be able to delve into this, relearn this stuff I learned in high school, grade school and high school. But talk about adversity, overcoming struggles in life difficulties. Man, black woman, 1855. Parents are slaves. Well, I remember listening to my grandma. She passed recently in the last couple of years, and she was talking about her experience. Actually, this is her picture. By the way, it hung over the piano, family piano, stand up, upright, and I've got a few more in here too. Might give you a tour of my studio space / studio office. I don't know, but anyway, she was kind of talking to me about her experiences. She was born in 1925. It was during, of course, segregation. So, man, but I think it's really cool how these amazing, courageous people face the odds, those things that might have been seemingly insurmountable, and hey, on the other side, after grinning and bearing whatever they had to, they made something for us to be able to use, even for them in their day. That had a utility use that was essential, given the fact that, it was space saving, had a dual purpose. Probably had more other purposes. I don't know. Maybe she had variations of it. I don't know. But I think I definitely have discovered her mime. Her mime was, no matter what craziness is going on in the world right now, she's going to find a tool that its utility can help everybody, even the people that might not like her. And I think that's an awesome mime, because I think that she really loved people, and she wanted to help people, herself included. And I think she did that because her invention had an impact on later inventions up to this day. So that's the show for today. And thanks for listening and watching and bearing with me through these technical difficulties. It'll get better. See you on the next one.
Who I am come from deep within. I'm a speech, my style, my skin. I ain't no country boy, cause of my kind of toys. When I get on my knees, when I pray to the Lord, you can just get past